Maria Sharapova just won Wimbledon at 17 years old. She's on top of the tennis world, champion of the most prestigious tournament in the sport. But the first thing she does, she calls her manager from a hotel bathtub, excited about a yellow rubber duck. Winning Wimbledon is the best thing ever, she laughs. I get this tub and I get this rubber duck. This moment reveals everything about the financial reality behind sports dreams.
That story encapsulates the hidden truth about professional sports. Even future superstars start from nothing. Maria's excitement about a hotel bathtub shows how far she'd come from sleeping on a pull-out couch, paying $250 a month just to use someone's kitchen and bathroom.
In sport, you invest a lot without having any guarantees, and that's maybe. In tennis is quite different to team sports, where you're guaranteed a certain amount. But there's something on the line when you know that you've invested all this money and there's still no guarantee that you'll ever return it back or make more.
Maria is describing the fundamental difference between individual and team sports. In tennis, golf, or track and field, you're essentially running a small business that loses money 95% of the time. Every tournament entry, every coaching session, every flight, it's all coming out of your pocket with no guarantee of return.
Today we're exposing the brutal financial reality behind sports dreams through Maria Sharapova's own words. How the path to athletic glory is paved with financial devastation. And why even champions like Maria had to constantly ask themselves, how much could we actually afford? How much do we actually have in our possession? Maria's story starts with a reality most people never see. Before that Wimbledon victory, before the millions in prize money, her family was making desperate financial calculations just to keep her tennis dreams alive.
I used to take trips to Los Angeles from Florida to train with a coach, and we could only afford to do that so many times during the year because of the expenses of hotels and travels and all that. My family and I always made decisions based on that. It's like, well, if it doesn't work out, how much could we actually afford?
Think about what Maria just described. Her family was rationing training trips with her coach because they couldn't afford the travel expenses. This is a future 5-time Grand Slam champion whose family had to budget every coaching session. Imagine how many talented athletes never get that chance at all.
The current data shows Maria's experience was typical, not exceptional. Today, 80% of the top 1,000 ranked tennis players don't earn enough money annually to cover their expenses. The ATP's guaranteed minimum for players ranked 176 to 250 is $100,000, but their expenses typically exceed that amount.
Maria learned about money management out of necessity, not choice. When you're operating on financial margins that thin, every decision becomes about survival. What makes Maria's story remarkable isn't just her success. It's how she understood the isolation and responsibility that comes with individual sports, and how that translates into unique financial pressures that team sport athletes never face.
Sport is very isolating. You have a team that prepares you, but you pick up your bag and you go into center court and it's like you're on your own. You control your wins and you control your losses. The toughest part is a much darker, lonelier aspect of sport, is that you go back to your hotel room and everything is upon you.
That isolation Maria describes extends to financial responsibility. In team sports, players have contracts, salaries, health insurance, pension plans. Individual sport athletes bear all the financial risk themselves. They're essentially independent contractors running businesses that usually fail.
Maria learned early that she had to be deeply involved in her finances because no one else would protect her. As she puts it, when you start from not much and you make money throughout your career, you better be involved in all, from the smallest things to the largest things.
When you grow up not necessarily having a lot or not necessarily understanding what is a lot and how much it actually takes to work for nothing, I realized that it's not only a personal possession, it's always your choice with what you do, and your actions ultimately determine how far or low it takes you.
The contrast between Maria's financial awareness and the typical athlete's experience reveals how broken the system really is. Most athletes are flying blind financially while competing at the highest level.
Professional tennis players receive only 17.5% of the $2.2 billion in revenue the sport generates. Compare that to NFL players who get 47%, NBA players who get 50%. Maria was one of the lucky few who understood she needed to build businesses outside tennis to secure her future.
Maria's excitement about that rubber duck after Wimbledon shows how modest her expectations were despite being a champion. Meanwhile, the tennis industry was generating billions from her talent and the talent of players like her, while giving back a fraction.
Even Maria, who made over $285 million in her career, experienced financial insecurity. When some endorsements ended after her suspension, she had to adjust. If someone of her stature feels financial pressure, imagine what lower-ranked players face.
Was it tough to not get one extension out of the amazing amount of brand partnerships that I had? Yeah, of course, not so much about the money. It was more about the relationship itself and the people that you work with. I think that's much more valuable than money.
Maria's insights reveal why the current system is structurally broken. Individual sport athletes face unique pressures that team sports simply don't have.
When you go to a tournament, there's so many responsibilities as an athlete. It's not just walking through a tunnel and performing in front of thousands of people. There's the way that you carry yourself, there's the fans that expect a lot from you, there's the press conferences, there's the sponsor visits. It takes a lot of people to make something happen.
Maria's describing the hidden labor that athletes perform beyond competition. They're entertainers, brand ambassadors, media personalities, yet they bear all the financial risk while the industry profits from their multifaceted value.
The education sacrifice makes this worse. Maria admits she didn't have a formal type of education and became street smart by traveling the world. Most athletes give up educational opportunities, leaving them financially vulnerable if sports don't work out.
Maria learned that great talent isn't cheap. She invested in the best team because she understood the stakes. But that creates another barrier for athletes without resources. The psychological impact of this financial pressure extends far beyond money. It shapes how athletes think about competition, relationships, and their entire future.
When you're on a mission and when you're committed, you're not only going to make friends along the way, and not everyone's gonna like everything that you do. But ultimately, does that really matter if you believe in your actions, and if you believe in your words, and if you believe in your goals?
Maria learned to prioritize her mission over being liked because financial survival demanded it. That's a level of psychological pressure most people never face, knowing that being nice could literally cost you your career.
The loneliness Maria describes, going back to that hotel room where everything is upon you, that's compounded by financial stress. You're not just processing a loss, you're calculating whether you can afford the next tournament.
Maria's insight about Harvard is telling. She found herself in a room with 50 people who were much wiser and older, mostly men, and had to speak up despite intimidation. That's the reality for young athletes in a financial system designed by and for others. The systemic problems Maria navigated affect every individual sport. Tennis, golf, track and field, swimming, they all share this broken financial model that extracts value from athletes while providing minimal security.
Current data shows that players ranked around number 200 in tennis face guaranteed minimums of $100,000, but expenses that often exceed that. One player earned $67.71 in prize money while spending $34,500 on expenses, a $28,000 loss for being a professional athlete.
Maria understood early that relationships matter more than money in the long run, but most athletes don't have the luxury of that perspective. They're too busy trying to survive financially to build sustainable networks.
COVID-19 exposed how precarious these careers really are. When tournaments were canceled, athletes had zero income but still had to maintain their training and fitness. Maria's business diversification suddenly looked prophetic.
I invest good money, I'd say solid money, to have a great team because great talent is not cheap, and that's in any field. I understand the importance of treating your team really well.
Maria's approach to business shows one path forward. She didn't wait for the tennis industry to fix itself. She built her own solutions. Sharapova became her financial independence from a broken system.
I came into candy business not being familiar with the category, but I think there's something really cool and special about coming into a job not necessarily being that, because you're able to bring in a different point of view and have a different opinion.
Maria's business philosophy, bringing an outsider's perspective, is exactly what the sports industry needs financially. The current system was designed by insiders who profit from the status quo.
Efforts like the ATP's Baseline program and Novak Djokovic's Professional Tennis Players Association are starting to address these issues, but they're band-aids on a fundamentally broken system. We need Maria's kind of outside thinking.
Maria's advice to female entrepreneurs applies to the sports industry. We always feel that we have to be perfect at all different segments, but maybe imperfect change is better than perfect stagnation. Maria's journey from rationing coaching trips to building a candy empire shows what's possible when athletes take control of their financial destiny. But individual success stories can't fix systemic problems.
When something comes across that's very challenging and difficult, I always say that how you handle it, no matter in what field it is, will ultimately be how you handle other things in life.
Maria's resilience is inspiring, but we shouldn't need that level of adversity to pursue athletic excellence. A 17-year-old getting excited about a rubber duck after winning Wimbledon reveals how low our expectations have become.
The question isn't whether athletes can overcome financial obstacles. Clearly, some can. The question is how much talent we're wasting by maintaining a system that requires overcoming those obstacles in the first place.
Maria's story shows both the problem and potential solutions. She succeeded despite the system, not because of it. Imagine what sports could be if we designed them to support talent rather than extract from it. Maria Sharapova's honesty about her financial journey, from rationing coaching trips to getting excited about hotel amenities to building business empires, reveals the hidden truth about professional sports.
Her story isn't just about individual triumph. It's about the thousands of equally talented athletes who never got past the financial barriers she overcame. The system needs to change so that rubber duck moments become celebrations, not survival milestones.
When Maria says athletes invest everything without having any guarantees, she's describing a system that needs fundamental restructuring. Better revenue sharing, guaranteed minimums that actually work, health insurance, education support, these aren't luxuries, they're necessities.
This episode was brought to you by Unstruct AI, where we expose the hidden costs behind dreams. Today, Maria Sharapova's own words revealed how the sports industry's financial mythology hides a brutal reality. When a future champion has to ration coaching sessions and gets excited about hotel bathrooms. The system has failed. Maria succeeded by understanding that individual sports require you to control your wins and losses, including financially. But success stories like hers are used to justify a system that destroys far more dreams than it fulfills. Her excitement about that rubber duck after Wimbledon should inspire us, not because she overcame such modest circumstances, but because no athlete should have to. The path to excellence shouldn't require financial martyrdom. Until we fix the economics of individual sports, we'll keep celebrating survivors while ignoring the talent we're systematically destroying. Champions shouldn't have to choose between pursuing greatness and financial security. When they do, we all lose.